Hey guys, it's Pete from MyJewelryBench.com. Today, what can you do with your Elegoo? Or is it Elegoo? This is my iMac. I've had it for 5 years. It works really good, with one exception. Note the big crystal that's under the monitor. That's because these things have a notorious problem. The notorious problem is that the spring on the inside breaks. And then this is what happens to your iMac. The hinge stops working and it just flops around. Well, I created a solution for it and we're going to work on it today. Okay, so most of you understand that to make something, you have to design it and then actually CAD it out on a computer before you can bring this to the next step, which is 3D printing. So here I'm using Blender 3D to model this part that I want to make. And what I'm trying to make here are two hinges and two sliders. And the sliders articulate onto the hinges, and then they have little notches in between on the sliders, the vertical parts that go back and forth, and that allows them to, when they're in their notches, kind of stay in place. And here you can see I'm just making the notches out. I'm not really going to get into modeling this with Blender, although I will be doing some tutorials on using Blender. This worked out pretty well, and in the end I ended up with this. Here you can see the final pieces, and the hinges are denoted in red and the sliders are denoted in gray. And you'll notice on the top one there's a hole there where I'm going to put a bolt through on the upper slider, and that allows me to use a nut, a bolt, and a spring to put tension between the two sliders, kind of keep them clamped. That way I can just grab the bottom of the monitor and slide it or pull it forward or push it back without actually having to get behind the computer to undo a screw or something like that. I mean, this is a permanent fix because maybe I'm just too lazy to take the computer apart. It's not easy to take an iMac apart, especially a 2013, because the screen's glued onto the frame, so you have to cut all that glue out. Once I've done my model here, I've brought everything into a Sheet 2 box for slicing, and I'm just going to use my normal Anycubic or Elegoo Mars resin settings, which are about the same. The printers are about the same, so they print about the same pace. And then we're just going to get started on printing. Now, the steps that I take are pretty simple. I clean my printer. If I know I'm not going to print anything for a little while, I clean my printer out, even if it's just, maybe for a day. I don't leave resin in the tank just because the resin kind of destroys the FET film, and why take any chances? In case I have to go do something and I don't get to printing, then I don't have to worry about the resin sitting in the vat. And once I get ready to print, I just go through and wipe everything down one more time, making sure that everything's clean. And here you can see I'm going to do the bed leveling. It's pretty normal. I know some of you are going to say, oh geez, we know how to do this. But if any of you are thinking about getting this printer to print parts that you may need, either to make something or fix something, or maybe you're going to make parts and sell them for specific things, it's a good idea to kind of get familiar how to use this, and I'm sure there's enough tutorials out there to see this too. I debated whether to do this in gray resin or white resin. I'm going to grab the gray resin here because, hey, my iMac is gray. Makes sense to me. Once I get the build plate leveled and tightened up, just tightening up that one nut. I usually only use the one. For some reason, I only have to use the one. I know there's one in the front, a lock nut in the front, but that doesn't seem to do anything with my build plate. So, hey, maybe I got lucky. I always shake up my resin just a little bit before I pour it in, just to make sure it's mixed. If I don't use it for a while, I'll actually shake it for a couple of minutes and let it sit for another couple of minutes and then pour it in. But just giving it a quick little shake, pouring it in the vat, and always remember to wipe off any extra resin. Now here I'm not wearing any gloves, but I'm trying to be very careful not to get any resin on my hand. Remember, sometimes you can get severe burns from the resin, the chemicals in the resin. And here I'm just going to find my print. There it is, and we're going to go and start now. Again, this is the boring part because this will take about 4 hours to print, and we're going to let this go. But I will give you a little sped up version of what's going on with the printer. Hey, now comes the fun part. It's been about 4.5 hours since I started this print. It is done. I don't remember what I was doing, but it finished before I heard the beeping. So grab your gloves. Remember, safety is important. You always want to make sure you're wearing gloves when you're cleaning out your product and pulling your material off the build plate. So once the cover is removed, I'm going to actually get my, I got a little pickle. It's just an old plastic tub that I keep isopropyl alcohol in, and I use this for about a week, and then I'll dump it out later. But I dump all my prints right into the isopropyl alcohol, and I let it sit there for a few minutes while I clean out the printer. I figure since I have to wait for the isopropyl alcohol to work on the resin on the models that I dump into it, then I might as well take the time to clean out my printer. And here you're going to see me follow some of those procedures. Okay, so once I get my prints out into the isopropyl alcohol, I grab paper toweling, and I think I showed you in a previous video. I usually cut mine down into quarter sheets, and then I'll use some isopropyl alcohol and wipe down the build plate. Once the build plate's cleaned, sometimes I'll clean it with a little glass cleaner just to get any little last bit of residue off of that. And here you can see I'm spraying it with some really good glass cleaner just to get any last bits of resin off my build plate. I don't like putting it away dirty. Just me, just the way I am. And I also level my build plate every single time I do a print. It only takes a couple seconds, and I don't see a reason why not to. And the next step, I just grab a small funnel, use these 190 micron funnels that I buy on Amazon. I'll put a link below. And I'm going to gently remove the vat from my printer, and I think it's giving me a little bit of a hard time here. I'm not sure why, but it took me a couple seconds to get it off. The purpose of doing this is I empty out the resin back into the bottle, and I always filter it obviously before it goes in, just in case there's any UV printed material that's kind of solid stuck in the vat, and we don't want any of that getting back into our bottle. And once all the resin's back in the bottle, then it's time to wipe down the resin vat, and I will go through a 2, 3, 4 minute procedure how to clean this out. I first wipe it down with some isopropyl alcohol, and I try to kind of load up the vat with some isopropyl alcohol, and then I'll use glass cleaner to finish this whole process. And the nice thing about this glass cleaner is it leaves a nice slippery film on the FEP paper, and it works better for printing on my next piece. Sometimes I'll use Rain-X on the FEP paper, and I think the FEP film holds up pretty good with the Rain-X. I haven't heard anybody having a problem with it, and I've been using it since I've got this printer. It's been almost 4 months now. So again, I'm just going to spray it down one more time. Just make sure I get all the resin out of the vat. And once I'm done cleaning my printer, I just grab the pieces out of the isopropyl alcohol and I'll throw them into my ultrasonic cleaner. Now when I'm cleaning out these parts, I use either 409 or actually Fantastic, or you can use any kind of green chemical in your ultrasonic cleaner to clean the rest of the pieces in the cleaner. Once I'm done with that, off to the ultraviolet curing light they go. So as I said before, this particular thing that I'm making here, I'm making so that I can fix the back of my iMac so that the screen can be pushed in or out without sliding down, because if you have an iMac and you lose the spring inside, it just kind of flips down at an angle you can't use it. So this piece that I'm assembling now, there's the two sliders, and on the pad are the two hinges, and then I'm going to put the bolt and the spring together, try to get this to fit all together. This is just one of the things that I use my printer for, is just to find stuff that I can kind of try out and fix something that's broken, or in my case, because I do watch repairs, I have my own line of watches, I make certain parts for the inside of the cases for the watches, you know, where the movements fit into the cases and they need to be held in place. Or I will make holders for certain things. Some of the other parts I make, because I fix a lot of watches that are specific, I actually make movement holders to use while I'm doing the repairs. So if you look at this, you can see I've got the nut and the bolt in there with a spring on it, and when I pull and push the sliders together, those little grooves kind of hold it in place. Now, I could have done a little bit better design, but actually this is going to work out pretty well, and I just want to get it assembled and ready to go onto the back of the computer. So I'm just giving it another quick test, and the nut and the bolt at least will allow me to add a little tension to this. Here we got the double-sided tape, so I'm going to cut this into two little pieces for the hinges so they can stick onto the back of the computer. Hope this video is not too boring. Really, it's just to give you guys an idea of what I use mine for, and leave a description in the comments box and let me know what you guys print with your printer, or if you don't have one yet and you're thinking about getting one, what you are thinking about getting your printer for and what you're going to use it for. I mean, it's always good to know, and I like knowing what you guys are into, so it helps me to plan more videos. Okay guys, so here I am just peeling off the double-sided tape, the backing on it. I want to give a big shout out to Greg, my first Patreon supporter. I really appreciate the support. Over the next couple of weeks, you guys are going to notice some stuff on Patreon. For anybody who's a Patreon supporter, will be getting free information on how certain resins work, especially the castable resins and things related to watches and jewelry. So I hope you guys appreciate that. And those things will be for sale on my website if you're not a Patreon supporter. So you can get it either way. Here you can see I'm just attaching the slide and the hinges to the back of the computer, getting it tensioned with the nut and bolt, just trying to make sure it fits good. And fumbling around here, but in the long run it worked. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, please. And if you can, share on social media. The more thumbs up and shares I get, the better my videos seem to do, and the more it helps my videos. I appreciate all the help you guys give me. Trust me. Hey, we just hit 400 subscribers. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. And any of the products that I use will be in Amazon affiliate links in the description below or on my website. So today, I fixed my iMac. Let me know in the comments below what you can do with your Elegoo. What kind of practical parts that you make to fix or replace things that are broken, or just create something that you need. Let me know below. Thanks. Bye-bye, guys. Thanks guys for taking the time to watch some of my videos. I really appreciate it. If you like these videos and you find them helpful, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see new stuff that I put out, usually on a weekly basis, hit the subscribe button and you can get notified by clicking on that little bell. I really appreciate any sharing that you can do, and the thumbs up that I get if you like these videos kind of helps with my channel to grow. You'll see that in the descriptions and on my website I do put affiliate links to products that I show and use in these videos. Those affiliate links give me a little small commission. Doesn't cost you anything if you buy them, and when you buy within the first 24 hours of clicking on those links, I get a tiny little commission that helps keep this channel going. Any little bit helps to keep this up and running. Again, thanks for taking the time to watch it. If you liked it, hit that thumbs up and share on social media. Take care, guys. Happy watchmaking and jewelry making.